The Nigerian government continues to allow the killing of Christians. The USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria. We're going to do things to Nigeria that Nigeria is not going to be happy about. I'm hereby instructing our Department of War to prepare for possible action. If we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet, just like the terrorist thugs attack our cherished Christians.
The strategic petroleum reserve has been depleted, and it is part of our job going forward to try to replenish it.
Yeah.
The challenges posed by China and Africa are vast. However, there are also immense opportunities for advancing America's national security interests. Today's hearing focuses on China's dominance of critical minerals in Africa and on the importance of strengthening U.S.-Africa partnerships to secure the United States supply chain of critical minerals.
The whole thing is actually, okay, fine, what do we leave as a legacy? And I think doing this, by even making sure that, yes, we've taken Nigeria out of an oil, petroleum product import country for the first time in the history of Nigeria, is a great milestone, which, I'm very, very proud about.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, a few of you reached out asking for my thoughts on this whole situation with Donald Trump threatening war with Nigeria, and I totally understand why. Because if you didn't know before, I am Nigerian, born in Nigeria, raised in Nigeria, schooled in Nigeria, lived there for more than 3 decades before I moved to Canada. So yeah, I get why some of you said, Maki, we need your perspective on this one because you will make it make sense. And I'll be honest, this one is going to be a long one, so I apologize in advance. But if you stick around, I promise you will see the real picture, one that is not about saving Christians, but about power, greed, and global control. So let's start with the question everyone is asking. Are Christians being persecuted in Nigeria? Yes, but it's deeper than that. Let's get something straight. Are Christians being persecuted in Nigeria? Yes, absolutely. Are they being killed in horrific numbers? Yes. But are they the only ones being targeted? No, not even close. Muslims, farmers, herders, children, so many innocent Nigerians have become victims of a system that has completely collapsed. It's not just about religion, it's about a country bleeding from decades of bad leadership, corruption, poverty, and neglect. Groups like Boko Haram and ISWAP kill in the name of ideology, yes. But what is fueling them is also hunger, inequality, and hopelessness. Now, here's where the story turns dark. When Trump says he wants to save Christians by threatening Nigeria, it sounds noble. But let's be honest, Trump's America doesn't move troops out of love. It moves troops out of interest, and not spiritual interest, economic interest. Before we go deeper, let's understand Nigeria. Nigeria is one of the most diverse nations on earth. Over 250 ethnic groups, 500 languages, and that's why English became the lingua franca, because we literally need one common tongue to talk to each other. It's a country bursting with riches: oil, gold, diamonds, lithium, gas, rare earth minerals, fertile land, and a young population that could build the next Silicon Valley if given the chance. Nigeria should be a global powerhouse. It has everything: resources, populations, brains, and potential. But here's the sad truth. Corruption strangled that dream. Politicians get rich while schools fall apart. Oil wealth vanishes into private jets and offshore accounts, and the people are left fighting for survival. So when Trump looks at Nigeria, he doesn't see a Christian nation in need of help. He sees a gold mine with no security guards.
Plus, the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding.
Trump threatened Nigeria for the second time. And it is sick that some people are actually believing what he's saying. We all know he doesn't have Nigerian Christians at heart. He's doing this for a particular interest. Donald Trump should stay out of Nigerian affairs. You are not our president. He threatened Nigeria that we are not going to like what he's going to do to Nigeria. He said he's coming all the way from the United States to serve Nigerian Christians. When everyone knows it's a fact that the attacks and the insecurities in Nigeria are not as a result of religion. And to my surprise, Nigerian Christians actually think Donald Trump is coming to save them. No, he's not. He's not doing this for humanity. Are Christians not being killed in Gaza? Do we all not see how he turned a blind eye to support Israel? Or can we all not see what is happening in Sudan right now? What did the United States do to interfere in Sudan? How about the war taking place in Ethiopia, where majority of Ethiopians are Christians or following their own religion, but all of a sudden his concern is Nigeria? Donald Trump is trying to fight this whole narrative as a Christian-Muslim fight. I am a Muslim and Boko Haram do not see me as Muslim enough. In fact, historically, Boko Haram attacked more Muslims than they attacked Christians. Going to the next insecurity in Nigeria, herders and farmers. Herders and farmers have been going after each other for centuries. What you all see on social media is one-sided attack when the herders are going for a payback. But it's always two-sided. The farmers will attack the herders and the herders will attack the farmers. Those herders are not on social media to publish their own story, but it's not a religious fight. The third insecurity, which is the Biafra insecurity, the last time I checked, they are killing more Christians because they're happening in Southeast. And Southeastern part of Nigeria is predominantly Christian. Donald Trump does not have Nigeria at heart. And to tell you he's not doing this for humanity, Muslims in Nigeria are suffering from this insecurity, but he's making the entire topic about him coming to Nigeria to rescue Christians. Of course, Christians are being killed, but Muslims are also being killed. So please, if you have to interfere in Nigerian politics, if you want to assist Nigeria, and if you are really doing this for humanity, let your military men assist Nigerian militaries in combating insecurity. You are threatening to use nuclear weapon and whatever. We do not want that in Nigeria. Nigeria is religiously sensitive and he's trying to weaponize it against Nigeria. Donald Trump should stay out of Nigerian politics. Thank you.
Is Trump really trying to play in our faces with this strategic messaging about Nigeria? So he just called Nigeria a country of particular concern because, in his words, Christians are being slaughtered. And he is talking about the 3,100 Christians who've sadly been killed, right? But we need to slow that right down, because when you use faith like that and you ignore the Muslims dying too, it starts to feel like their lives don't count. And more than that, it hides what's actually driving the violence, because do you really think that this is about religion? Anyway, I need you guys to stick with me so you can see what's actually going on here, right? It's the same conflict, same killers, and this isn't new. It's chaos that's been brewing for years. Armed groups, gunmen, rogue herders, all moving through gaps that the governments have failed to fill, right? Isn't this the same play that we've seen in Haiti, Sudan, DRC? Convenient? Break the state, then swoop in with a savior story. Why now? Why Nigeria? Well, here's what they're not saying, right? Nigeria's got $40 billion in oil exports, some of the largest gas reserves in Africa, solid minerals, gold, lithium, tin, resources that maybe the US needs, especially in a Cold War with China. And it's not just what's underground, is it? It's the land. The middle belt grows the food that feeds the nation, fertile, rain-fed, high yield. And guess where the most violence hits? Right there. And I need to clarify, right? People aren't being killed just because they're Christian. They're being killed because they're in the way. And many of them happen to be Christian because that's what it dominates that area, right? So this isn't just about faith. It's about land control, food and power. That same zone full of ginger farms, mineral-rich soil, and foreign players are circling. The Gates Foundation invested in smallholder farming, agri-tech, yield targets. This is not a conspiracy, right? This is public record. But when the West enters through aid, you know it rarely ever stops at support. And some will say that these killers don't move alone, right? They're backed, tolerated, or armed by whoever's buying access. Local counterparts, foreign deals, the highest bidder. So when you hear Christian persecution, ask what's really at stake and how close the nearest air path is, right? Because China's already in, right? Ports, refineries, defense deals, ammunition, factories. And now Trump wants Congress to get involved. That's not just concern. That's positioning. Because when America talks about saving Christians overseas, come on, man, is this really about faith? It looks like it might be a green light. It moves money, activates voters, justifies presence. And while that's happening, he's also saying, you know what? Maybe we should save Nigeria's best talent and make them come over and move to America. So which is it? Are you worried about the people dying? Or are you more concerned about scouting the ones who survive? That's not rescue, that's resource control. So what's the play?
The strategic petroleum reserve has been depleted, and it is part of our job going forward to try to replenish it.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were quite a lot of sales in the past. Yeah.
Speaking of policy.
Yes. Speaking of policies from previous eras, there quite a bit of it was depleted.
And how concerning is that to the administration?
I think it's a concern. I mean, this is something that the president was pretty clear he wanted to see replenished.
Yeah.
Right. The SPR is one of the important tools we have strategically in the United States, and having it available when necessary is a critical element of policy.
Let's decode this. Trump is not threatening war because he loves Nigerian Christians. He's doing it because Nigeria has what America desperately needs. You see, America's oil is drying up. Its manufacturing is lagging behind Asia, and the minerals needed for electric cars, semiconductors, and the next generation of technology, most of them are not in the US. They are in countries like Nigeria. Lithium, cobalt, rare earth elements, and massive untapped energy reserves. Now, Trump can't bully Canada anymore. We saw how that played out. He's losing to China in the global trade game. So who is left to bully? A third world country with weak institutions, corrupt leaders, and endless resources. That's the game. The Christian persecution angle is an emotional hook to justify intervention, but the real goal is economic colonization 2.0. This is the part that hurts the most. Nigeria isn't poor because it lacks resources. Nigeria is poor because it lacks integrity. We've had leaders who care more about their 10th generation's bank accounts than about the next generation's education. Think about it. If you keep a population uneducated, starving, and desperate, you don't need to buy loyalty with gold. A bag of rice and a few naira will do. That's how they stay in power. That's how the people stay powerless. So when someone like Trump looks at Nigeria, he knows all it takes is a handshake with the right corrupt politician and boom, access to oil, minerals, and military bases disguised as help. That's how global manipulation works. They don't conquer you with guns anymore. They conquer you with deals and debt. Let's not pretend this movie is new. We've seen it play out before. Iraq, invaded under the banner of freedom. Look how that turned out. Libya, destroyed after being called a humanitarian mission. Sudan, chaos, civil war, and foreign hands in the oil and gold fields. Every time the pattern is the same. We are here to help. And every time, what is left is ashes, refugees, and stolen wealth. Now, Trump is eyeing Nigeria with that same script. Wave the Christian flag, enter with weapons, leave with contracts.
Africa after decolonization was more or less the forgotten continent. Western countries did not want to engage it for whatever reason. China went in. China treated every African country as brother and sister, and China really invested hugely in Africa. Now, many other countries are talking about engaging with Africa, including the United States, many European countries, India, for example. The more the better, because Africa should not be a monopoly for any other country, not for China, not for anyone else. Africa is for the African people.
Make no mistake, this is China versus the world. They have put these unacceptable export controls on the entire world. China is a command and control economy, and we and our allies will neither be commanded nor controlled.
American capital and expertise in standards to Africa so that we can keep exploiting, so that we can exploring where we can get these minerals.
Meanwhile, China has been building in silence. They are constructing roads, bridges, ports, and power plants across Africa, Nigeria included. They didn't wait for chaos. They invested early. And then comes Dangote, the Nigerian billionaire who built Africa's largest oil refinery. For the first time in modern history, Nigeria can refine its own oil instead of sending crude abroad. You think that doesn't shake the US? Because every barrel refined locally is one less dollar of dependency on them. This refinery is a symbol of what Nigeria could be if leadership wasn't changed to corruption. And that's exactly what foreign powers don't want, is self-sufficient Africa. Now let's bring Canada into the mix, because there's a powerful lesson here. When Trump tried to bully Canada with tariffs and trade wars, Canada didn't bow. Instead, they looked outward, signed new trade deals with Asia, Europe, even Africa. They doubled down on clean energy, innovation, and education. And most importantly, they put their country above politics. That's what Nigeria could learn from Canada. Imagine if Nigeria invested half of its own oil revenue into building schools, hospitals, and industries like Canada does. Imagine if leaders were held accountable the way Canadian politicians are. Imagine if transparency wasn't a joke, and if the nation's resources actually benefited its citizens. Nigeria has the potential to be Africa's Canada, stable, prosperous, respected globally, but corruption, tribalism, and greed keeps it crawling where it should be flying. So let's put it all together. Trump's threats aren't about protecting Christians. They're about protecting America's economic dominance. Nigeria's weakness isn't about God abandoning it, it's about leadership failing it. And the reason this matters is because it shows how nations are used over and over by powers that never cared in the first place. If Trump truly cared about Nigerian Christians, he would have created a refugee pathway. Instead, he made US visas harder to get. He talks about saving lives, but every policy says otherwise. At the same time, Canada is showing the world that independence and integrity can make even a smaller country stand tall against a superpower. Nigeria could be that too. But until corruption dies, good intentions will always be stolen by bad leaderships. So do I believe Christians are being persecuted? Yes. Do I believe Trump cares? No. Do I believe Nigeria is being targeted for its resources? Absolutely. And unless Nigeria learns from countries like Canada, where accountability, education, and national pride come before greed, it will keep being the playground of global powers pretending to care. But it's not too late. If Nigerians demand change, build institutions, and unite beyond religion, then no Trump, no China, no corrupt elites can stop what comes next. Because a nation that learns from its pain is unstoppable. Let me know what you think in the comments. Is Trump's threat about saving Christians or controlling resources? And do you think Nigeria could ever follow Canada's example? If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And if you want to support the channel, the Buy Me a Coffee link is over there. Thank you for watching, and remember, truth isn't always comfortable, but it's always necessary. So YouTube thinks you will like this video over here. See you in the next one. Au revoir.